PvP in TDS used to be a feature back in 2020, but got removed for some reason. And now, after lots of public testing and 5 years of waiting, it's finally back. Surely 40 plus devs with 5 years of development and multiple public testings can deliver a good experience, right? The first of many reasons why TDS PvP is a failure, and also the main reason why win trading has become the meta, is a terrible elo system. The reason why it sucks is because it's purely RNG, and even if you get lucky, you barely gain anything. For context, you need 3000 elo to gain General 3, the highest rank, and claim the Champion Accelerator, which is the only worthy reward in this entire game mode. Let's say you gain 30 elo on average, which is actually pretty lucky. And let's say you win every single game, and every single game lasts for 20 minutes accounting for loading and matchmaking time. Even with such assumptions, it still takes over 33 hours of peak gameplay to get the main reward. But let's be honest, assuming you don't win trade, some games will be lost, and the amount of elo you lose can be the same or even larger than the amount of elo you win, meaning you can get set back by 5 games if you get trash reward 5 times in a row. But then the game decides to rob you. Now, I'm pretty sure that the elo gain or loss actually depends on rank of you and your opponent. If you have a bigger rank, you gain less and lose more elo, and vice versa. And I mean, it would be fair if the reduction was like 10 or 15%, but the game thinks otherwise. This makes climbing up in high ranks hell, because you will be mostly paired up with low ranks as not that many people are high. Then you will proceed to gain 3 elo and lose 33. And now, please tell me, how are you supposed to gain Champion Accelerator in this elo economy? Oh yeah, and also, win trading got patched. So does this mean getting the skin is now impossible? Anyway, let's pretend elo doesn't exist and PvP Season Pass is a forsaken myth. Does PvP get any better? Well, too bad. First of all, the optimization of PvP is as good as that one Halloween event. If the opponent spams 10 million necromancers and you happen to have a low-end device, you will suffer and probably lose. But let's say you have an RTX 5090 and you don't lag. What next? Next is second problem. The gameplay of PvP is boring, one-sided, and repetitive with little variety. The PvP is based on spamming enemies to overwhelm and kill your opponent. And what does this mean? Welcome to the great crowd control potential meta, where half of towers are irrelevant. No, but seriously, if you don't have enough crowd control in your loadout, you just die. The PvP is basically Bloons TD battles. But the reason Bloons works in TDS doesn't is because pretty much every monkey has at least some sort of crowd control. In TDS, crowd controllers are like 30% of all towers. And because of that, you will see pretty much the same 5 to 10 towers every single PvP match, making gameplay very repetitive and overall boring. Some non-CC towers are good in PvP like Necromancer, but these are just one-of-a-kind exclusions. And so, every single game will be visually the same, with the same towers and same enemy spam. And you have to play around 150 games of this slog just to get the Champion Accelerator. Try to not fall asleep. Alright, let's say you don't want Champion skin, and just want to get some other rewards. Well, I'm afraid PvP is obsolete now, because you get like 350 coins after each game assuming you win. Oh, and there is no battle pass currency, so don't even think about that. And what about season pass? Some useless consumable crates, a worthless amount of coins, and some cosmetics. In other words, if the skin doesn't interest you, then nothing will, and thus the reason to play PvP completely disappears. So as a result, we have a repetitive and boring game mode with trash rewards and a lot of grind, with final and only good reward being next to impossible to obtain due to how elo works. You may say that PvP has consumables to make PvP more fun, but out of all consumables, only 3 are actually good. And the funny thing is, the only good consumables are all about buffing enemy spam you send at the enemy. How fun. Oh yeah, there is also sudden death. That will likely last for tens of minutes, because the enemies do not get harder fast enough, and you end up over-defending every wave. Therefore, games will either end in under 10 minutes due to hidden, hazmat, or necromancer spam, or they will last for ages. Next issue I want to touch is arena system. It looks fine at first glance, but has some problems. First of all, why aren't you shown the arena before the game starts? You only discover what arena you're in once the game starts. Which is really stupid, as if you for example get the loadout from Molten Arena, and you end up in Fallen, you are at disadvantage. Same with banning towers. Second of all, in my opinion, you shouldn't be able to drop below the arenas in Elo, and arenas should serve as floor protection. In Clash Royale for example, if you reach a new arena, you cannot drop in previous one. If TDS PvP had that, reaching new arenas would feel way more significant, and overall PvP would be much more adored by casuals. And casuals are 99% of players. Finally, enemies in arenas don't have a good balancing, to say the least, with for example Molten Necromancers being described as unstoppable and pain in the ass to deal with. Alright, but what about maps? Well, the devs committed a fatal mistake by letting people vote for the map they want. Like, bro, did they ever play other games with ranked in them? Now you are forced to play Crash Course and nothing else, lowering variety of PvP even further. In my opinion, the map should be random, and it should be shown before the banning even starts. Speaking of banning, you also should not be able to see the PvP loadouts of opponents, as you can just ban their towers and win easily because they no longer have a strategy to follow. Alright, one last thing about PvP is that if into V2 your teammate leaves, you should not lose elo, or at least you should not be penalized for leaving as well. Why? Because 2v2 turns into 1v2, which is not fair at all and basically guarantees a loss. The fact that you still get punished for losing in this situation is just ridiculous. And with that, the yapping has ended, so let's go to final thoughts about this forsaken game mode. Overall, the PvP in TDS is disappointing slop with million problems that came in what feels like an unfinished state. In fact, currently, even hardcore is more popular than PvP. Meaning PvP is the least popular game mode in the entire game, excluding Sandbox. What baffles me is how developers fucked up so badly. They had months, 40+ developers, and lots of public testing. No, but seriously, this PvP and last public testing feel pretty much the same, which leads me to believe that the devs completely ignored our feedback, which I actually think is the truth. It's hard to exactly tell the future of PvP, as it all depends on developers' actions, but knowing Paradoxum, there's a good chance this game mode will be left to rot with minimal changes, just like Sandbox. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, because why not? And I see you later.